So, hello everyone, welcome to the next Tomb Raider podcast from TombRaider.com. Today it's Keir from London, and I have with me Catherine, who's the brand manager for Tomb Raider, and Daryl Gallagher, who's the director of art over at Crystal. So, hello guys.
Hello.
Hi Keir.
Thanks very much for taking the time to do the podcast. We're just going to have a quick chat about what you guys have been working on recently. So, Daryl, could you give us a bit of background on what you've been doing for Underworld so far?
Yeah, sure. Well, basically, my role is pretty diverse. I generally kind of have I work on all things art for the studio as the director of art, so I cover a lot of different bases. We have multiple projects in the studio. We have multiple teams, so there's a need for a lot of attention in a lot of different places. So generally, I work a lot with the art directors in game, working on the game, on Tomb Raider Underworld and previous Tomb Raider titles, to make sure that we're hitting our goals as a studio and for the project. A lot of work with the technical staff, making sure that we've got an engine that's capable of delivering fantastic looking art. And in also working with the marketing group, in particular Catherine,
Yes.
especially on this project, to create visuals for the marketing campaign.
Okay. So you have quite a lot of input into the graphics and the final look of the game.
Yes, yeah. I mean, as I said, I have a lot of input there and work with the art directors and the teams to make sure that we're hitting the goals that we're setting for ourselves.
That leads on to a question that War Dragon asked on the forums, and he'd like to know, or she'd like to know, how similar the finished levels are to the concept art, and what types of changes are made from the concept art to the actual level.
That's a good question. Well, in general, we try and stick to the concept art as much as possible. We have some fantastic concept artists in the building, some of the best in the business, as you've probably seen from the work going out. And really, that helps us kind of define the look. And, we want to stick to that as much as possible because a lot of thought goes into the concept art. But at the same time, the concept art doesn't really cater to gameplay and 3D space. So really where you see a lot of the changes come down to once we actually turn it from 2D into 3D, sometimes it doesn't necessarily work as well as it could. So you might want to make changes to the actual concept art to cater for gameplay in lighting and layout and areas where it becomes difficult for players to navigate in particular. So, there are some changes, but in general, we do try and stick as closely as possible to the inspiration.
Okay. And how do you feel about the screens that have gone out so far? Are you quite happy about the New Mexico level screens that were released recently in terms of the team's feelings towards those? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we're really excited for the next set of screens to go out. In particular with Mexico, as you saw on the release. I mean, there's a huge difference between Mexico in November and Mexico today, and that's really because we're constantly improving the engine, the code, the artwork, and our ability to really push to the highest level. So, we've learned a lot in the last 6 months. We've pushed it a lot in the last 6 months, and it's great to see the screens going out to showcase some of that work that we've done.
Cool. And you mentioned that you're involved in the marketing side of things as well, and a lot of people saw the first logo that went out around Christmas, which was obviously the initial version. But people would like to know how much input you had in the final version that's recently gone out.
I was involved in that with Catherine and Carl Stewart, the US marketing director. We were all involved a lot. And the logo went through about 50. How many different iterations?
Wow, we started working on it last year, so it was really last summer.
Yeah,
so a lot.
So it went through a lot of different iterations, and ultimately, the logo needs to work well with the pack shot. So some of the logos that we got in through the 50 or 60 different iterations, they weren't in context with the final pack shot. So that's one of the things that we needed to do was see it in context. And ultimately, with the logo that we ended up going with, we really wanted to go with brand equity from the Tomb Raider logo. That we wanted to evolve it and push it into a kind of a next-gen space, but really retain kind of some of the roots from the last games. And, that's what we've done with the logo.
Okay, and in terms of the pack shot, which everyone's been asking, whose idea was it to cut Lara's head off?
We don't call it cutting Lara's head off. We call it concealing her eyes.
Okay.
So no one actually sat here and said, right, we're going to cut Lara's head off. But one of the things that we were really determined to do this with Tomb Raider Underworld was really reinforce the idea that this is the player's experience. This isn't necessarily just a game about Lara Croft. So when we were exploring the pack shots and what the key art was going to be and the key art style and direction, which again is a process we've been working on for months, when it kind of like, and it was Daryl that presented the idea of concealing her eyes. When we looked at that, one of the things that we really liked about it was the idea. It really reinforced that idea that it was about the player experience. It wasn't just about Lara. So that was one of the reasons why we did it.
In addition, we initially wanted to show Lara in the environment and showcasing her adventuring through the environment as a Tomb Raider. But that becomes very difficult to do in a small space, to really pack a lot of environment, a lot of detail into such a small image space. So you want it to stand apart on the shelf so people can clearly see that it's a Tomb Raider game. And ultimately what we did is we kind of came around and decided that we would still use Lara in a prominent way, but we would show her wearing her experience. And that was really the concept for the box, was let's show Lara really wearing her adventure, show what it takes to be a Tomb Raider and show it visibly on her.
Yeah.
So as a result, you can see all the detail that's gone into the box image and the key art to support that goal.
One of the things that the guys are doing in the game, and they're doing it incredibly well, is creating this much more believable character. So a lot of time and a lot of effort has gone into making Lara Croft feel like a more 3D, more rounded character. And part of that is the way that she appears within the game now. So she does, when she goes on these incredible journeys, she does get scuffed up, she does get muddy, she does get wet, and that whole sense of, I guess, that the realism side of her adventure, that was something that we really wanted to push through the box as well, which was another reason why we added on the layers.
Which leads us on to the trailer, which I think is what everyone wants to hear about. What can you tell us about that?
Well, you're just going to tease them, aren't you, Daryl?
Well, we can't say too much because it's coming out this week, so we need to keep it under wraps somewhat. But certainly we can talk a little bit about the concept and the goals for the trailer. One thing is just to state, we just took a look at the latest work in progress this morning before the podcast, and I have to say it's looking fantastic. It looks absolutely stunning.
And what were your goals when you presumably you were involved in the concept behind the trailer? What did you want to achieve with it?
Well, goal number one was kind of like a challenge that I put down to the guys, which was, right, we want our first trailer to be like nothing you'll ever have seen for Tomb Raider.
Yeah, I think when I look at the trailer, when we've talked about the pack shot and the box art being different in a good way, I look at the trailer and it's very much the same. It's very unexpected. There's a couple of things that are tidbits for the audience here. There's a huge story reveal. There's a massive story reveal within the trailer. It's a very teaser-ish type trailer. It really sets up the game, the story. There's a lot of layers in there. So for the audience and for the fans, there really is. If you dig deep, there's a lot in that trailer that is in the game. It's a layered approach. It's very, very cool. It's like nothing you've ever seen before for Tomb Raider, is what I would say. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So that makes it very exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting.
When you say it's layered, are you able to elaborate on what people can expect or give a little hint?
So I don't want to give too much away. Really, for people that want to dig into the trailer once they've seen it, it requires multiple viewings. That's one thing I would say. It's a very complex piece. It's it's got a lot of open questions, and for the fans out there, there really is a lot to dig into. But we're not going to give too much away here, otherwise we'd be ruining it.
No, don't say any more, Daryl.
Brilliant. And Diablo had a question from the forums, and he wants to know if there'll be original music, or if you'll use music such as the Legend trailer, which had the Prodigy's Spitfire in there.
Well, there is music. It's not the Prodigy. It's a very different type of trailer. The music is a licensed piece that we've licensed that was really very fitting of the mood and the atmosphere and the stage that we wanted to set within the trailer. So the music is licensed. Again, I don't want to reveal too much.
Nope.
You should take a look this week, and as you'll see, it's very fitting.
Yeah.
Okay, and Catherine, can you tell us when people are going to be able to see it first?
Yeah, so it will be premiered on the 18th of July with MTV, and it will be premiered at 9 p.m. in the US and then rolled out from there across the world.
So
Brilliant.
we're very, very excited for everybody to see it. As I said, as a teaser plus trailer, it really sets up the story very well and the game very, very well, and we think people are really going to dig it.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for taking the time to do the podcast with us, and I'm sure everyone's dying to see the trailer. I've seen the work in progress, so I know how cool it is, but thanks again for your time, and
Thank you,
until the
Kia.
next podcast. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kia.
Thank you.
Cheers.